Okay guys, we're back today we're joined by Daniel.
Nice to meet you, Daniel.
Nice to meet you, Daniel.
Nice to meet you, boys. I'm good.
All good. Today I think it's going to be another episode. Lots of stories, lots of laughs, lots of different experiences. But I think Daniel, just sort of start us off. Let's tell us a bit about yourself. You know, what you're doing at the moment.
Where did it all begin? Where was the aha moment?
Yeah, wow. Where do I begin? So, Bristol born and raised.
Bristol, okay.
Yeah, West Country. Went to uni in Leicester, economics. Graduated there with a first class degree. That's when I moved to London.
Yeah.
I was working in Canary Wharf for an investment bank. Did that for about 6 years. And that's when my business started. So to give you a bit of a background, I run a rehydration drinks company, which initially started as a hangover cure, believe it or not. I got a bit of a drinking problem. So I was, when you're in banking, you got to be up at like 6 a.m. every day, but the drinking culture's big. Yeah. And everyone's taking Barocca and clutching their water in the morning, paracetamol, but nothing works, right? Yeah. So I thought there's got to be a solution. And I come up with my own. After trying all of that nonsense, realising none of it worked, I came up with my own. So initially my business, Revival, started as a hangover cure. And then just evolved from there. Now we're this kind of all-round health brand. Yeah. So I left my job in the city, started doing that full time, and that's when I went on The Apprentice.
Yeah.
So
let's give it.
Should we jump straight into The Apprentice, or?
Well, let's everyone give a bit of context. So, 28 now.
My age?
Yeah.
I'm 31, but I'll take 28. I'll take 28.
That's not what it says on Google. I looked.
Yeah, it's probably that would be from when I went on The Apprentice, when I was 28.
Right, so 31. In terms of entrepreneur and sort of things like that, when did that begin? Wanting to sort of.
Bro, from young. I mean, I was that guy selling Coke in school, not Coca-Cola in school. I was that guy selling, sweets, everything, all of that kind of everything like that. I was selling Von Dutch t-shirts on eBay, all that kind of stuff, all throughout school. So it kind of started from very young for me, and that kind of continued into adult life. I was the guy at uni running, the local nights, running the student nights, getting people on coaches, taking them down. So
Freshers ambassador.
All that kind of stuff, all that lovely stuff. I was the guy at Carnage with the main t-shirt on kind of thing. So all of that, like through my whole life, I've always been in and around business, looking how to make money.
Yeah. No. Okay. And what is there a main? Do you think there's a main reason for that? Was there a sort of?
You know what it is?
What was the reason?
I don't come from money. And I've always been very much into kind of like hip hop culture, if I'm being honest. And I used to love it. I used to love the videos. I used to look at MTV Cribs. That was big when I was a kid. Used to look at the lifestyle, and like we never grew up with those kind of things. And I always thought I always wanted to be maybe not a rapper, but I wanted to live the lifestyle these people are living, because it looks pretty fucking sick, right? They're doing the shit that everyone wants to do. So I don't know. Maybe it was that which was always in the back of my head. But I always thought that they're having a wicked time. I want to also have a wicked time. How do I facilitate that? It's the cash element which is missing right now. Chase the money, and the rest of it will fall into place.
It's interesting you say that though, in respect to just chasing the money, because I remember going through the first sort of like initial stages, and it was just kind of like you kind of chase the business model. You don't know like what's deliverable, that sort of thing, and when you sort of chase the money. In that aspect, you don't really know if it will sort of follow through. You've got to kind of chase the deal, if that makes sense. I don't know if you found that as well.
You know what? To a certain extent, it's kind of how you view it, right? Like I'm not afraid to say that I love money and I chase money, and that's my end goal in life. I'm really not, and I think society now, people are afraid to say that. Imagine I interviewed people when I was working in the bank, and people will come in and I'll say, why do you want this job? Because I really enjoy interest rate swaps. No, you fucking don't. No one does. You want this job in an investment bank in London because you want to make money. But society makes people shy away from saying that. I don't. I'm in this business to make money, and that if it's not making money, I'll do charity stuff and I'll do that separately. But for me, primarily, the business has got to fulfill the goal, and that's to put food on the table. But over and above that, allow me to live in a way that I can't if I was to go and get a regular job.
Yeah. Okay, so let's go back to your journey then. So. In school, Mars bars, Coca-Cola, selling t-shirts, going to uni, nights out, you know, getting people together, events, etc. Then what was sort of around 22, 24, sort of.
Yeah, so left uni at 21.
Yeah, you left uni at 21.
Still, so I started working for the bank. I joined the grad scheme at one of the kind of global investment banks.
Okay.
But all the while I'm ticking. We're doing things on the side. There was a business that me and my friend nearly got off the ground. It didn't. It's called Captive Screen. That's what we called it.
Right, okay.
So you see it in London all around, but we had the idea first, or I had the idea first, is put in screens in places where you got a captive audience. So put them in the back of taxis. Okay. So when people are locked in the back of the taxi, you got a screen, you're advertising to them. In offices, you got an office where, like, you know, people who are making decent coin are working, but they're in the lift every day, hitting them in a place where they're captive. They can't move away from it. So that was kind of the concept. So that was one that we tried. We were doing things with property. We were having a look at nursing homes. There was a few product businesses that we dabbled with. There was a couple of, we opened a vape shop with another friend at one point. Okay. Constantly thinking of things, constantly. I mean, the list will go on.
And what was happening with them? Did any of them sort of...
So you know what? Nothing really kicked off, to be honest. I mean, there was money invested.
Would you say any of them was a passion, or it was just ideas? Was that one of the reasons why maybe wasn't passionate about it, or it was purely...
I'm glad you mentioned that. So this is another thing. People, and it kind of goes back to what they were saying earlier. People always say, follow your passion, and you'll never work a day in your life.
I'll see one of your posts.
Yeah, you'll never work a day in your life. For me, like, could we swear on this podcast?
Yeah, of course.
I think that's bollocks. I think that's bullshit. I think that's the worst piece of advice you could ever give to a young person. Yeah. The advice that you should give to a young person is find what you're good at and find what will make you money. Don't follow your passion. Look, if I follow my passion, I'll be sat in the park making daisy chains. Do you see what I mean? Is that going to put food on the table? There's a Professor Galloway. Okay. He talks on this subject, and one of the things he says, he goes, you often hear billionaires saying this. Follow your passion. And you look into that billionaire, and he made his money, he made his billions in mining. Do you see what I mean? Where's the passion in that? He found something that he was good at, and he was able to become passionate about it because it made him money. No one wakes up, some kid thinks, I want to go into mining or metals, or do you see what I mean?
Did you start off that way, thinking you need to follow your passion?
No, I've never fell into that trap. I've never, and it'll be disingenuous for me to preach that message, because I know it's wrong. Like, you like what you're doing. You like what you're doing because it's interesting, and long term it's going to make you money, right? You know, you're both in property. You're both pretty successful. If this didn't pay, if this paid you £5 a week, would you do it?
Probably not. No.
There we go. But you become passionate about it because you're good at it. You're clearly both very good at it. You understand it. You're able to grow it, and you can see a path there.
You become analytical. I think what you're saying is absolutely true, because there's things like ISA sales, for argument's sake. You know, you can make a lot of money doing ISA sales. You know, you can be passionate about sales on one subject, but then, you know, you flip to doing something else because it's going to earn you a little bit more money, for argument's sake. You know, and then you become really engrossed in that subject, and you just become loving of the subject.
You build the passion. It's exactly that. Exactly. Find something you're good at, and the passion element will come. Trust me.
And I think even, you know, like what you're saying, I think even if it's a case of you are passionate about something, but, you know, there might not necessarily be the opportunity to, you know, have financial gain with that. I think, you know, and that's probably one of the reasons why I'm doing the property. Of course, there is an element of, you know, I like being in the office, on the phones, you know, day to day. But I'm able to put myself in, you know, build a foundation.
Well, there we go. It's another thing with this exact, and I'm quoting him. What he says at the end of his speech, he goes, Jay-Z was able to follow his passion and make money. For the purpose of this conversation, assume you're not Jay-Z. Assume you're not Cristiano Ronaldo. Assume you're not... Do you see what I'm saying? Yes, there are people who are able to follow their passion and they can preach it. For 99% of the population, following your passion, it's never gonna be fruitful if you're doing it for money.
Then your passion is business.
My passion is business, and my passion is making money.
Yeah.
But, you know, what I'm saying is that on the flip side of that, that's not for everyone. Like, for me, money's a goal. I'm not ashamed to admit that.
There's nothing you know, intrinsically wrong with that, because, you know, to have a business, you need to have a value proposition.
Exactly.
I mean? So I think where that comes from, you know, if people think it's like, you know, not a good thing, I think, you know, it's probably the opposite, I would say.
Yeah, of course. So let's move into later in life. Let's go into The Apprentice.
The Apprentice. So
How, why, and
so my business was running. I left Credit Suisse, but it's still at a very low level. I'm not making that much money, and in hindsight, I probably left it a bit too early because the business wasn't really making enough to support my lifestyle. But I did it, jumped in at the deep end, and I'm at home now. I've got a bit more free time because I was running both concurrently, and I'm watching The Apprentice. And at the end of an episode, Sugar pops up and he says, "You think you could do better? Apply now." And I said, "You know what? I could do better. I definitely could do better. Let me apply." I applied, and next thing you know, I'm getting invited back to the next stage and next stage and next stage. And then you get a call saying, "We want you on the show." And it was like, wow, man, this is mad. Like, this is crazy.
What is the pro? Because I've
always, a lot of people like to know the behind the scenes.
I've always watched The Apprentice from young. I've always been interested in it. What is the actual process? So you apply?
So you apply, you do a online application.
Okay.
Then what happened? So imagine I've done my online application and I thought I'm going to turn up and there's going to be hundreds of thousands of people there. The chances of me getting on are nothing. I'm sat there with my flatmate. I didn't tell him. I said, "Listen, I've got a meeting, but nothing's going to come from it. Should I go?" And he's like, "Go." And I'm like, "I can't be fucked with this. I'm not going to go." He convinced me to go. I know he didn't even turn up to the first interview. So you go there. And
is it a studio or what is it?
It's at the studios in Tottenham Court Road. And you do like various assessments. Like they make you, what's it like? You got to give a short presentation about yourself. Right. And it's mad because the building's tall. And at every layer, they move you up a level if you're successful. Right. And eventually you get to the very... Exactly that. And then they keep kicking people out. So it fins. It's like a pyramid.
Was Lord Sugar at the top?
No, he wasn't. It's like a pyramid. So you finally work your way to the top and you do the last assessment of the day, which is like they mic you up, you do a screen test. And you've had like 3 or 4 interviews by this point. And every point they're filtering.
So is it one day then?
No. So they have that. They have that same day, I think, 3 times in London for all the different people because there's like, tens if not hundreds of thousands of people who apply. They do the same thing in Birmingham, Manchester and a few other places around the country, so it's intense. There's a lot of people applying. Then if you're successful you get invited back to stage 2. Stage 2, it's like that's it. So they film it and it's like being in a mini Apprentice. They split you up into boys v girls. Again, they've got like dozens of these days going on. They film you doing tasks like building an IKEA desk. But what they'll do is they'll give you like, it will take you normally 10 minutes to do it. They'll give you 8 minutes and 5 of the screws will be missing. So obviously you're not going to do it. And then they do a mini boardroom. So everyone's going at each other like, I'm going to fire him, I'm going to all the rest of it. And they do like a written assessment and there's a few other things.
Is it like...
What do you think the goal of that is?
Well, no,
sorry?
Go on, you go.
No, I was just going to say, what do you think the goal of that is?
It's basically to see, A, if you're competent, but B, is this guy going to make good TV? Because at the end of the day, you can't have someone who's a bit of an introvert. Maybe one character is an introvert.
But he plays that role.
But he plays introvert role. But you can't. But you can't have 12 introverts. It's not going to work as a TV program. So they're assessing you from a few perspectives. You got to tick a few boxes, right? Are you a good personality? Are you a unique personality? You can't have 12 Essex boys turn up. Do you know what I mean? It's ain't gonna work. So from all different.
So they're not picking you just based on how good you are at business and how much money you can potentially make.
You know what it is? If Sugar wanted a business partner, he'll put his little finger up in the air and you'll get any business partner he wants in a land. The Apprentice is a TV program first and a business program second. If it didn't get the ratings, it'll get axed, and Sugar will still get people to do business with if he wanted to. So primarily, and people get very confused about this when they watch it back, it's an entertainment program and it's entertaining. Look, I was on there. Do I have a good business? Yes. Do I have business acumen? Yes. Was I entertaining? Absolutely. Absolutely. My clips now, they get played on YouTube. They got hundreds of thousands, millions of retweets and all the rest of it because it was entertaining, and that's what they're looking for. Have we got characters who can make a good TV program?
So how did you find it then, The Apprentice? How was the experience for you? What was the challenges you faced?
The Apprentice, I have to say, the best experience of my life. Like the whole thing, start to finish, it was just phenomenal to be at any age really. Like to get the chance to do that, to get the chance to have 6 weeks. It's mad. It's like you're in prison when you're inside. They take your phone. You're not allowed the internet.
So you go in the house. And
you go in the house.
You stay with everyone.
You stay with everyone in that one house. No phone, no internet, no live TV, no contact with the outside world. You get 1 5-minute phone call a week, which is on loudspeaker and a stopwatch. If you talk about anything that's going on, the phone gets cut. If you talk about anything that's happened or any other people, the phone gets cut. If you talk, all you can talk about is, "Hey mum, how you doing? What's going on? I miss you.
Crazy. I didn't think it was that. I didn't think it was that. Like,
it's crazy. You're locked inside this like complete bubble, protected from the outside world. But like, it's mental. Nothing can compare to it. It was bonkers. It was stressful. It was tiring, but it was utterly brilliant.
It was good.
What were the takeaways from that?
The takeaways from The Apprentice. You know what? It's difficult for me. Like, there's definite takeaways. I'm not like these candidates. Did I go there and did I learn about myself? No. I'm the same person now that I was then. Did I learn a great deal about business? Honestly, probably not. And one thing that I always say is, would my business be here without The Apprentice? 100%, but I'll be 6 months further because that took 6 months out of my life. But what it did give me was life experience. To do that, to be on TV, you know, I was living in a house with people. It goes back to that diversity element, right? It's not 12 Essex boys in there. They're people who typically, my friends are very siloed because they're all a bit like me in a certain respect. But when I went into the house, I was the one guy who was like me. Everyone else was different background, different ages, and it was nice to mix with people that generally you wouldn't normally be put with.
Does it? Yeah, this is a question I've got. Right, I'd be intrigued to know this. So obviously, when you're in the boardroom and that, it does start kicking off.
It does.
People are throwing people under the bus. What's it like when it gets back to their house? Because no one ever sees that. I feel like they should bring that in.
It's mad.
That would be almost like the business version of Celebrity Big Brother or Big Brother.
Looking like, I saw that.
Yeah, so you know it goes way deeper than that. Yeah. So let me start with the morning. So they wake you up at 6 o'clock, and on boardroom day. So you know boardroom.
Yeah.
You know, 10 minutes at the end of an episode.
Yeah.
You know, that's one full day of filming.
Really?
One full day.
So when they come in and say...
So they wake you up in the morning, and from the moment they wake you up, you're not allowed to speak. It's pure silence, yeah? So you have breakfast in silence, they then drive you to the studios, you sit there for about 2 hours, and you have lunch in silence, and everyone's just in there going crazy with their thoughts. When I go in there, I'm going to say this, I'm going to say that, I'm going to blame him, So they get you to the point of snapping point, right? Breaking point. So when you finally go into the boardroom, you're ready to like unload. So they're great at making a good TV show, and they know how to get people there. Do you know what I mean? Sleep deprived, jack them up on caffeine, get them in, you know, make them sit in silence, sit opposite the person who they had beef with on the task. So like, do you know what I mean? And then when you get in there, it gets catty. But for me, it was a very different experience. I think I'm the one candidate, maybe at the time, I don't know, subsequent years, who in the history of the show was never pulled back into the bottom three. I never had to go for no one. I was never in a dogfight to save myself. But I saw it, and it's mad because when you're in that final three,
it is literally
it's dog eat dog, right? And so I was in the bottom three, but I was never invited back. On the very last task, our team lost, but there's only 3 people left in the team at that point. So you get breaks in between it, and the producers are saying to you that, so Daniel, it's you, a person X and person Z in there. Was it your fault that you lost the task? No. Well, whose fault was it? Person X's. And say it like you mean it. Look, it's one of yours going. Is it going to be you? No. Tell me why they're going. What are you going to do? And then you go back in. You got to fight it out.
So they are someone staring.
Exactly.
But in a sense, even from a business standpoint, when they're seeing you at that last, you know, 1v1, it's like almost showing who's got the better opinion, who can persuade me the most, who can. Is that an element of it as well, or is that purely entertainment, would you say?
From my perspective, it's purely entertainment. Reason being is because I think prior to that, Sugar does it based upon what happened in the task, and really and truly, you get a lot from the task. They're very insightful. You can literally, if you're observant like Clara and Claude do, you're able to see who's dead weight, who's carrying the team, who was innovating, who was coming up with the ideas. It doesn't need. Let's say us 3 are there, and you've got someone who's been observing us for 2 days on task. It doesn't. That's all been fed back to Sugar. Do you see what I mean? It doesn't need me to say, "Oh, Max, you did this." Or, do you know what I mean? He kind of already knows. I think maybe in 1 or 2% of the time, if I really put forward like a crazy case. But I think ultimately, look, he knows that you've got a business which is selling sweets, and I've got a business which is building houses, right? He already knows whose business he likes more. Let's say you messed up on the task and I didn't. Doesn't matter what we say in the final 3, you'll go and I'm not. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, of course, he's already.
So there's always that kind of TV element of it.
What's he like as a person, would you say?
The honest answer would be that I couldn't really tell you. Our interactions with Sugar especially are very, very limited. Like we see him when you see us seeing him, if that makes sense.
When you're on set.
That's it. So he turns up to set. Obviously, he turns up super late, says his lines, jumps in his Rolls Royce and drives off.
There's no like personal touch to it.
Zero.
Really?
There's zero.
It's almost like,
and even with Claude and Karen less so, but they keep, and I get why they do it. They keep us candidates and the Claude, Karen, and Sugar very separated. Because if I'm having a conversation with Claude or Sugar, you're going to think, Dan, they're becoming mates or whatever. They don't want any favoritism. Yeah. So the kind of interactions that you have with those three is very, very limited.
So it's more of a neutral. They've got more of a neutral.
A very, very neutral standpoint, and they're assessing it purely from what they're observing from a business perspective.
Well, just being on the inside, what I would like to know, maybe just give of your perspective. Well, what would you say is the benefit or sort of the reason why Lord Sugar would do the show?
He enjoys being a celebrity. It's as simple as that. Yeah. He doesn't need the money. The guy's a billionaire, right? Yeah. And truth be told, I probably think he's, in terms of investments, it's probably a case to say that he's lost a fair bit of money doing it. Not to say that he hasn't made a lot of it. But he does not need. He's even got a VC company. He doesn't need the Apprentice to get investments or to invest into businesses. He definitely enjoys the celebrity element of it, and why not, right?
I think everyone,
it's fun. It gets him exposure, but it's definitely TV program first, business second. Regardless of what he says, he's probably gonna, I don't know, message me on Twitter tomorrow and be like, Daniel.
Yeah, have you spoke to him after the show?
Nah, not at all. There's as I say, I'll be surprised if he knew my name, to be honest. And I went the whole way through. I went the whole way through. So yeah.
Okay. All right. And so after the Apprentice then, done the Apprentice.
So Apprentice is finished, and it's mad. Like we're in a privileged position with the Apprentice, and the reason why,
because especially when you probably went on it more so as well, is because of the social media and stuff like that. You get more of a, like, if you think back to 10 years ago, you went on it.
Yeah, definitely.
You're just on TV.
And the way I kind of look at it is like, you've got other shows like which are kind of, Apprentice is reality TV, right? Yeah. Reality TV. But you've got other ones like Big Brother and let's say the big one, which is Love Island at the moment. The difference being between us and them is they're inside when the show's are being played, but we pre-record. We record over summer and we're in the outside world when it's being aired. It's mental. And I always say Apprentice isn't one for Instagram. Like, it's a lot of older and younger people watching it, right? Or people in the city, you're not really that big on Instagram. But when you think of Love Island, Love Island peaked in 2018 with, I believe, 3.4 million viewers. Right. Apprentice averages 7.4 million an episode. Do you see what I mean?
Wow,
it was crazy. Like, you couldn't go. I was living in Westfields, not in Westfields, next to Westfields in Stratford at the time, in the Olympic Park. I couldn't walk through the supermarket without getting mobbed. It was that level. Like, it was bonkers. And what it does for your business in those 8 weeks when it's running, like, money can't get you that exposure. It's crazy. It blows your brand up to a crazy level.
Did you notice that afterwards?
So here's the thing: like when it's on your hot property, right? Everyone wants a piece of you. You're doing TV, radio. You're literally everywhere. And the exposure's fantastic. And then January comes, it dies down a little bit. But like with everything, by the time February hits, you're yesterday's news. Do you see what I mean?
It's the next season, isn't it?
Exactly. And one of the things that I was always very conscious about with my business, I always said that I haven't got a business if the business relies on my tweets to make money, or it relies on me doing a radio appearance, or being in a...
you're relying.
Do you see what I mean? But so many people in my year and years before me and even years after me, they got gassed. They're making, literally, in some cases, tens of thousands of pounds a day when it's going on, especially the episodes around where they get fired or if they get through to the very end. And they think that same buzz is going to be there in 2 months' time. They double down on stock, they start buying premises, they start investing here, there and the other. Before you know, February hits and they've got 10% of that. By March, they're back to zero because no one's buying a product because I'm Daniel from The Apprentice. Do you see what I mean? So I was always very, very conscious of that, and I built my business in a way that it wasn't. I took the lift when it came, but I never relied on it. I never relied on it. It was always about building that long term. What happens in February? What happens in March? What happens in summer? What happens in September of next year when the next candidates get released? Then where do I stand? It's building for that. And I mean, look, without mentioning names, you can go through. There's so many candidates. They're not in business today. In fact, more people who went on the Apprentice in my year are back in everyday employment than running their business that they went on there with.
Bloody hell.
Yeah.
Like, you can imagine, can't you? It's like people have gone on there.
Yeah, and that's why you should always shoot for the long term, isn't it? You know what I mean? We always say that in property, you're not going to get rich overnight.
Yeah, and that's one of the things as well. It's like it comes back to like you were saying, the social media element of it as well. It's like there's reality, and then there's the online presence as well. Maybe, like you say, some of the people in the city haven't got that online presence, but how is their actual day-to-day life? What is their reality, and what are they actually getting up to? And I think that's one of the things that we're definitely trying to have the balance of. We've got reality in the office, you know, we're genuinely running the business, and then obviously we've got the online presence as well, of which we're trying to, you know, expose that and share that with people. I think, you know, there's always a balance with that. What do you think, Ethan?
What do I think?
Yeah, what do you think? Yeah.
Well, I mean, look, more eyes are always good, and I think you know, it's just, we believe in our product. We say all the time to people to invest into the long term. It's just about more eyes and that sort of thing. But yeah, I think, like I said, I think it just comes down to building the long term business model. And there's so many other ways. You know, you don't even have to do a podcast or to be on YouTube or anything. You just do those things to have more longevity, because you know YouTube isn't going to sort of make you money overnight. It takes 5 years to get to that point where you're earning income from it. So, but yeah, no, I think you know, it's just one of those things, isn't it? Really.
No, of course. So, okay, so let's go into your journey again.
Okay.
What would you say as an entrepreneur, right? You know, from doing everything you've sort of been you know, you've done. What's one of the biggest challenges you've ever faced with I'd probably say, let's say revival.
Revival. So
what would you say for yourself?
You know what? In hindsight, I probably should have never done revival. Reason being, the more I know about the industry now, is the one place you don't get involved in is pharmaceuticals. Why? Because these companies, the pharmaceutical companies, which is effectively the people I'm competing with, and the drinks companies, they're the two heaviest hitters in the global industry. Like these guys have
Coca-Cola, right? Yeah.
Coca-Cola, Red Bull, GSK, like Bayer, like all these kind of like drug companies or drinks companies. They've got billion-dollar budgets.
But that could be a good thing as well, because a lot of tech companies, a lot of people who build drinks companies have gone on and sold to these larger companies.
On the flip side of it, that's the benefit you get. The problem is I started Revival with 10k, and trying to compete with these guys with 10k, it's almost impossible. My first batch cost me 9k. I had $1,000. I booked, at that time when it was a hangover product, Sam Gowland, the day he left Love Island. I booked him for 500 quid, and I booked one of the girls from Geordie Shore. And they were basically doing videos saying I had a hangover last night and all the rest of it. That was all my money gone. That was when social media worked, when it wasn't hashtag ad, and they weren't, holding up every little thing saying, buy this empty bottle, it's, hashtag boohoo, or the rest of it. Like, so that was where my first 10 grand went, and that was it. It was done after that. I just got all this product, but luckily I managed to make a bit of money with it. But realizing now, you need tens, if not hundreds of thousands.
What is revival? I don't think we've covered that yet.
So the way I look at revival is, if you look at, let's say, a multivitamin and a rehydration drink, and you combine them all into one, that's kind of what revival is. So the market was kind of very much in these effervescent tablets that you drop into your water. They come in a tube, they fizz up, and you drink them. Exactly like Barocca. So what I decided is let's improve on that. As I said, it initially started with hangovers. This stuff, it's tiny. It's only 3.5 grams. You can't get enough electrolytes in there. You can't get enough of the sodium, whatever it may be, the dextrose, and you can't get any vitamins there. Like B12 helps like your mental performance. B5 like fights tiredness, all the rest of it. Let's create a product which is all in one. So that was kind of it. So yeah, for me, I always say the best way you're going to learn is if you actually go out there and do it. You can read 100 books about it, but you're going to learn more if you practically do it. Exactly. And property's a different example because it's very expensive, but ultimately you're not going to learn the most out of property for a book. It's by going out there, buying a property, rewire it, see what the thing is, how much did the solicitor charge, how long did it take, all that stuff, all those pain points. And once you've done it, you'll be able to learn a lot more.
No, it's interesting that you were saying that, because I was saying this to a lot of my clients, especially in the beginning. And it was more of a common sense thing as well at the start. If you have the money to go into property, why wouldn't you just invest in a property and learn from experience? Unless you've got slightly less than the acquisition cost needed. Because I just feel like it kind of takes away that in the beginning when you first start something that's new and you don't have it, there's like, it almost feels like there's layers of darkness in front of you in terms of like, where do I go? I always liked it when at the beginning, like sort of just sifting through the darkness at the beginning. You just don't know where the structure is, where's the system, who do I speak to? You've got all these sort of questions surrounding it.
But that's exactly it. And you'll read up about like, the solicitor's checks take this long and this is what they do. It's only when you're there and you're like, wow, this guy's looking if it's a flood risk, it's a flat. Do you know what I mean? Things like that. But you can't read that in a book, or, solicitors take a long time to get back to you, but you can't, once you appreciate it, you see and you kind of, that's how much it's costing.
People learn in different ways as well. So just because there's a book about a certain subject, the way they're sort of explaining it and presenting it to you and the experiences they've had might not necessarily work for you, and like you say, going through that experience yourself, you're always gonna work, and not just that, but people learn in different ways.
I do think that changes over time though, because when you first initially start, because you have no prior experience about how to actually formulate a business plan potentially, you're just kind of sifting through the darkness, speaking to people and networking and just going off what they say. But now whenever I look at something new, something that I want to build another asset, I work from, okay, here's the process, then what does it cost me, and try and work up my ROI basically from there. What I mean?
Well, you've always got a network, because that is, with anything you're going to do, if you want to bake a cake, don't go to the butcher. You've always got to get in with the right person who's doing it,
Exactly.
So
but they can teach you how to bake a cake. The way you learn how to bake a cake is when you start baking a cake.
Well,
you see what I mean?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
For me, definitely, it's that practical element. I could read a book, I could watch Jamie Oliver. The way I'll perfect it, the first time I'm going to mess it up. The second time I'm probably going to mess it up a little less. Fourth, fifth time I'll probably be able to bake you a cake. Do you see what I mean?
And you're going to add your spin to it as well.
Exactly. And then you can get creative with it. Then you've got your basis of it. And then if you want to start going funky with the icing or whatever it may be, but to get to that stage, step one, bake a cake.
Bake the cake. That's the word of the day. Bake the cake. But yeah, questions for Daniel.
Yeah.
Any questions for Daniel?
Where do you want to go next? You've got Revival. It's been built. What's the next steps for yourself?
We've just scratched the surface of Revival. So look, like this year, finally 5 years later, we're a 7-figure business. We're turning over 7 figures, which is fantastic. That was kind of like, thank you. That was kind of like a big goal for me. We've achieved that this year, but there's so much more to do with it. As I said, we've only done this with one product. We're effectively a single product business. We've got one product that comes in 3 sizes: a 6-pack, a 12-pack, and a 30-pack. And it comes in 6 flavors now. So we've done this with one product. We launched another product at the start of this year. It's the world's first ever vitamin squash drink for kids.
Okay,
so imagine the kids market. It hasn't had any disruption in the last. I don't know how old you boys are, but my little cousin, they're still drinking the same drinks that I was drinking when I was a kid.
Fanta, Coca-Cola.
But you know what I mean? It's all like full of sugar. It's full of artificial colours. The packaging's not environmentally friendly. And same with like the vitamin tablets. Like no one wants to be giving their kid tablets. You know what I mean? It's not. And things with tablets as well.
Well, I used to have the what was it, the oil fish?
I've never heard of that.
The oil.
Oh, the fish oil. Yeah.
I used to have the omega-3s. I used to have them when I was younger.
Yeah.
But I guess
But this is the next iteration on it, because tablets as well, because it goes in solid form, you only absorb 30% of them. Because this is in liquid form, you absorb up to 90% of the vitamins and the minerals in there. So we've got 12 vitamins and minerals per servings, no artificial colours, no added sugars. It's the next iteration. So we're going to hopefully disrupt the kids' drink market with this. We got additional lines that we're bringing out in the adults range. We've got because it's interesting. The more I get into my business, I learn more about the avatar of my customers. Why are people using it? Like we've got people who use it for hangovers. We've got people who use it for sport. We've
Yeah.
got people who use it as a caffeine replacement. We've got people who use it like, working mums, who are at home all the time, stay at home mums and stuff. They need a little bit of boost throughout the day, but they don't want to have, a Red Bull. So now we're bringing out loads of products to cater for this. We've got a product called Revival Boost coming out.
Okay.
So that's
What's
got
Some sort of pre-workout. Or?
It's got in a way
Yeah,
it's like
yeah.
natural caffeine. So it's all plant based. But again, rather than having a coffee in the morning or a Red Bull, it will give you a Revival. It'll give you all the vitamins. It'll give you all the hydration. It's good for the environment and it's good for you.
Yeah.
So we've got a bunch of these products which have all been manufactured. Like they've all been developed. We're just ready to pull the trigger on them. So hopefully a few of those can start dropping.
When's that happen?
Hopefully later this year. I'm hopeful
okay.
that we're going to get a couple out in Q3 this year.
Okay.
And that should really start to impact the revenue. We've only got going in America, I say only, about 18 months ago. But that's a huge revenue stream for us now. And the market in America, it's massive when you compare it to the UK. It's enormous.
Cool.
Same with Europe. If you look at Europe as an entity, as we kind of do, we've got our home market was UK, we've got the Americas, and we've got Europe as well. Again, it's 10 times the size of the UK. We only got trading in Europe really about a year and a half ago as well, but that's going up and up. Everything's moving in the right direction. So for me, what does the next few years hold? It's to work on growing Revival. We've got the growth there. I think we're one of the few companies that I've ever encountered. We've done triple-digit growth. This will be our 4th year in triple-digit growth, and I'm not talking with a 1 in front of it. We've done over 200% growth for the past 3 years, and we're on track to do that again this year. So
I suppose that just goes into like the online market space, how it's just been kicking everything off. You know what I mean?
I think anyone who was online benefited from COVID. Because no one was going to the shop. So if you were positioned online, you got a lift for it. But those who really profited are those who had a product which was able to convince people to not go back to the stores. If you can make it slick for them, because a lot of people are apprehensive, right? And I think, look, for me, I shop online, but I don't like buying clothes online. I like to see how it fits. Do you know what I mean? I always like to see how it looks. So for me, clothes is not something I'm going to buy online. But definitely during COVID, there's certain products, convenient products, that I would never buy in the store because it's pointless.
Cool. Yeah. Is it so with the with people that obviously you're buying from, your consumers? Is it just from the website? Are you on any other platforms?
So
Amazon, anything like that?
Yeah. So we trade primarily through our own website and for Amazon. Those are the two things. Amazon works, and the reason why...
Is that from the get-go as well, the Amazon?
We've been on Amazon for a few years now. But Amazon, when you plug into their kind of their own fulfillment kind of services, FBA, in terms of how did I achieve the global expansion that I did by myself with very little capital, it was using their distribution model. And it's incredible. For any young entrepreneur who kind of wants to hit those global numbers, that's the only realistic way that you can do it. They
own such a large share of the market now.
Such a large share. They even say now that 60% of all searches now start on Amazon. It's not Google. They took over from Google. Do you know what I mean? It's crazy. But yeah, it just opens, provided you're able to kind of learn how it operates.
You get to leverage all of that.
You get to leverage it all. Like we trade. We're bringing on Canada later this year. We're bringing on Australia later this year. We're working with a translator. We're trying to get Japan going later this year as well. And it's relatively, because I've got my own website and I could set up. We own the domain names pretty much Revival dot whatever country it is. I own them all anyway. So we can open that up. But then to market off platform.
Challenges with that, getting into the new countries or domains.
As I said, if you're doing it direct on your own website, then you need to do distribution. Let's say I open up, and I've got the website revivalshop.com.au, I believe, the Australian one. How do I send goods? Bear in mind, my goods, I'm not sending designer handbags, right? You could buy a box of Revival for $15.99. That's like a little plug there if anyone's watching. Just shipping that to Australia, it's going to cost me 20 quid. They're not going to pay 20 quid on a product which costs 15 quid. I'm not going to absorb it. I've got a franchise. So we've got a franchise model that we operate in at the moment, just Dubai. So that's the one area in the world where we've got a franchise model going. We're in talks with a company in South Africa as well who want to start franchising out there. Outside of that, the main markets that we want to target as a parent company, we could service ourselves through Amazon. And going back to what you said, how do you ship goods between UK and Australia? It's impossible, right?
In the market as well. How do you look to
and then you kind of have to advertise off platform. And back in the day, social media marketing, before they changed the algo, was super profitable. You were getting a cost per acquisition. That's what we look at. So let's say I spend £10 on a Facebook campaign, and it generates me 10 clicks, and one person buys. We say the cost of acquisition is a tenner, right? But the cost per click was £1. Back in the day, you could acquire a customer because the reach was so good. For every pound you're reaching, let's say, 1 million. They've just tightened everything to the point where it's just impossible now. And I know so many friends and so many people in business, and they've gone from millions of pounds in revenue to zero because they were so reliant on Facebook. And now, for example, for a lot, this is across most industries, you're looking at cost per acquisition somewhere between, let's say, 15 and 30 pounds. So imagine, again, going back to my example, if you're selling a box for 15 quid and it costs you 30 quid to acquire the customer, cost of goods could be a few quid as well. Then your cost of packaging and all the rest of it, your website fees, your hosting fees, your PayPal fees or whatever. You see what I mean? You can make one sale, and every sale you make, you end up losing 50 quid. How long before you run out of cash?
Well, that is,
So it's challenging.
So you would say there's a over time, when people use Facebook advertising, their sort of ROAs or their return on investment on those advertising is sort of diminished over time.
It has, because Facebook isn't what it used to be, and look, I don't know about you, I don't use Facebook no more. It's a bit shit, right?
Really?
Reason being is because it got flooded with marketers and everyone's marketing everything. Same with Instagram.
From a business perspective, you mean, or just from a social?
Just from a thing. And what Facebook did is they looked at that and said, look, Pete, this isn't what we developed Facebook for. I actually remember the statement that Zuckerberg put out. He goes, I built this for people to connect with family and friends. It's like the Wild West of the internet now. So what he did is he reined it all in. And he basically made it for advertisers. If your pound was reaching 10,000 people, he basically made it so your pound of marketing budget would reach 1,000 people. He really tightened just everything up to a ridiculous point that it's very, very tough to make money if you're going to go down. If that's your route, and I'm having these conversations with friends, they're trying to start a couple of businesses that it'd be wrong for me to talk about, but product-based businesses, and they're saying, oh, we'll advertise it on Facebook, and I'm like, listen, you can't afford it. It really is that expensive, unless you've got, and this is how the big companies do it, because they don't mind plugging £1 million into brand awareness and say that's burn cash. We don't need to get people to buy off the back of it. But if you're an individual, you're starting with 10, 20, 30, even 50k. How long is it before you go through that? It's £50 per acquisition. It's crazy, right? You'll burn through that almost instantly. So you need a very, very strong strategy in terms of how you're gonna.
So how for yourself at the moment? How have you sort of pivoted away from?
So we're very lucky in the sense, and one of the reasons that we're lucky, and we're a business that's just replenishable, and we've got, I always say, your product comes first, your product has to slap, it has to be banging. If it's not, you're pissing in the wind, it's never going to work. And revival is very good, and people love it, and I know people love it because we get money on the repeat purchase, and we've got guys, they'll repurchase this stuff, they're on a monthly subscription, they order a 30 pack, it gets delivered every single month, they have it daily. We have loyal customers. So even if it costs me, not that I do it that aggressively, even if it costs me 50 quid to acquire a customer on day one, if they repurchase 10 times over the year, I've more than made my money back. But if you're selling a product which is, let's say, a thermos flask, and I buy it on Facebook, am I ever going to repeat buy one? If it breaks in 5 years' time, if it's good, and if it breaks in 2 years' time, I'm not going to rebuy your thermos flask. We got a replenishable product. It makes it easier because you've got that stream of revenue. Every customer, if they like it, and touch wood, we've got a good product, most people do, we're going to hit them and we're going to remarket them. Do you know what I mean?
So the key to what you're saying is the key to scalability and good business success is the replenishability and the life cycle of the product.
No, I mean,
as well as obviously the quality as well.
The product's got a bang, right? But people make money if they haven't got a replenishable product. Just in my industry, it makes the problem of how can you afford to spend 30 quid on acquiring a customer? Well, if your product's terrible, you're never going to get a repeat purchase from them. But if you've got the data that supports it, and people genuinely are, but like, I'm only here today because people repeat purchase at a phenomenal rate. It's
it's like the lifetime value of a customer.
It's the lifetime value of it, exactly that. And if my product was shit, trust me, no one's spending the money. We're a premium product. we charge a lot for what we sell, and it's premium. The packaging's premium and all the rest of it. And if it didn't do a premium job, those people are going to go to cheaper alternatives. They don't. They stick with us. And we're able to then benefit by retargeting them, or they just naturally just come back because the product was that good and they want to buy it again. And when they come back for a second or third time, it doesn't cost me a penny.
So yeah, let's just get into. So we've spoken about Revival. The Apprentice. Why you got into entrepreneurship. For yourself, is it a case of you're always going to be doing Revival? Is there any other sort of long-term goals that you sort of got for yourself at the moment? I know you're still only sort of 31.
Yeah, not 28 yet. No, definitely. For me, definitely in the short term, it's going to be a Revival. Yeah. But where do I see Revival going? And that's definitely exit. I've been very open with that from the start. It's one of the reasons that I got into this industry, albeit naively at the start. It's that this is an industry where you get the big buyouts. There was a company that started doing exactly the same thing as me in America. They started about 18 months before me. They're in America. They got a bit of investment. They actually did a bit of a celebrity round. They had Justin Bieber, Kendall Jenner. Bear in mind, it's the exact same product as me. Yeah. They got bought out 2 months ago for $500 million. Like, the buyouts are insane.
Do you know who it was from?
Companies, I don't want to promote a competitor brand. Liquid IV. They're called Liquid IV. Yeah. So they did exceptionally well with it.
Why is it?
You know what it is? Hydration.
Is it because it's so?
Hydration, the way that we're doing it, it's disrupting. It's disrupting the industry. Before, you had products like Lucozade. Lucozade's been around for donkeys. And then you got products like Diarolite and Barocca. Again, they've been around for donkeys. No one's really disrupted that industry, come through with a better product, a more effective product, better tasting product, better packaging, better aesthetically. Do you know what I mean? Social media friendly, with the rest of it. It needed disruption. And you've got these challenger brands, Revival being one of them, that have come in and they've shaken up the industry. No one was expecting it. They thought, this is just how it is. We've got these little fizzy tablets and that's just how it goes. But we came in, I'm probably the biggest player in this space in the UK. They're by far the biggest player in America. But as you alluded to earlier, one of the drawbacks is you've got these pharmaceutical companies and these drinks companies. One of the benefits is if you get to a size and they want a slice of that, or they see you encroaching, they'll just come through and give you an offer. And the offer would be at a level that's just unfathomable in other industries. Like, typically, they say a good sale is 4 to 5 times your EBITDA. You can say EBITDA is close to your profit. In an industry like mine, 10 times your revenue is not unrealistic.
Wow.
It's mad of revenue. And that's why there's a lot of businesses like mine, they're plugging in crazy money to build up when people buy the company, they don't even care about the profit. It barely even gets asked. It's all just done on a multiple basis. Because let's, for example, say a Coca-Cola knows that if they took on Revival, they don't need my marketing guy. They don't need my distribution. They got the best marketing guy in-house in the world. Brand. They got the best distribution guy in-house in the world, best distribution thing in the planet. They've got the best spaces on all the shelves. You know what I mean? They don't need anything I've got. And they're already paying for it. Their costs go to zero for Revival, but they got a brand which is turning over whatever X amount of million. So
they did that with Innocent smoothie drinks as well.
Innocent was Richard Reed. Yeah, they did the exact same thing.
I was talking about that yesterday. Yeah. That was nice.
So my plan is definitely exit, but thereafter, it's not business for me. If I can get the money that I hope and I think that I might be able to do one day, I don't need to let's say I've got a few million. I've got to be comfortable. I've got to say that I've got to. I'm doing this for money, and that would never change. I've got to make sure that me and my wife are looked after, and we're able to live at that level that I've wanted to for so many years. And I'm not talking about at a mediocre level. I really want to live up here, and provided I can get that, and I'm hopeful that I can. My passions don't lie in business anymore. I don't need to then start chasing billions. For me, I've always been very heavily invested in charity. I started my own charity a few years ago. My missus works for the NHS. My dad, he's the chairman for Mind and Mental Health Charity. It's been within my family for many years, and that's my long-term passion. If I can do something to change the world, to impact the world, to change lives.
What do you think you're going to charity-wise? Obviously, what is the charity you've currently got?
So we had I set up a charity which looked after homeless people, and interestingly, my business now we set up this year. It's called Revival 1 for 1. So our product in the World Health Organization ranks hydration in the top 10 things needed in a disaster zone, be that a famine, be that a war zone, because people die from dehydration. In the UK, it doesn't happen. Yeah. You go further afield, like people really die from it. You know, if you get diarrhea in this country, it's not a problem. If you get it out there, it's a dehydration it does to it. It kills people. It's such an important thing. And now we donate 1 stick for every sale that's made. At the moment, they were all rerouted because of COVID internally. With is
that UK? Obviously, UK homeless.
Yeah. So at the moment, we were rerouting it internally in the UK. Later this year, we want to start shipping these out to different places in the world. There's a charity that we're speaking to at the moment. They support refugees in Greece. We're trying to get our kids' products out to them and stuff. So Revival's definitely that arm of the business, that charitable sector of it's growing. But certainly for me, if I can exit from it, and in terms of what charity I'd like to get involved with, initially I didn't really know. I didn't really know, but now, so my missus is a gynecologist. Okay. Obstetrician and gynecologist, and it's crazy because like I learned so much about her industry like she knows about mine. And in the UK, if you're pregnant, you're expected to give birth, that child's supposed to live, and that mother just gets up a few days later, maybe a bit sore, and carries on with her life. Do you see what I mean? Yeah. She did a couple of years working out in, I believe it was not a couple of years, she did a placement for 6 months a couple of years ago in like Kenya, and she was telling me it's crazy out there. They have going away parties for the wife before she gives birth because the chance of death is so high. Like it's crazy. Really? It's crazy. Like people, and even for the most minor treatable thing, women are dying from it. Babies are dying from it because of the know-how that she possesses within that thing. And I'm exposed to it day in, day out. And she comes back crying certain days because there's been a bad outcome at work. And a bad outcome would be like, mother's lost 10 litres of blood or was close to death. No one's ever actually died, but that's a bad outcome. But every time, and she's like a senior reg now, so she only gets involved when things go wrong.
What's that senior reg?
So it's one below a consultant in a hospital. Right, so she's pretty senior, she's pretty high up. But she doesn't get involved in normal deliveries. She only gets involved when things go bad. But even in the small hospital where she works, every day there'll be like 10 or 20, and like every one of those, if that happened in certain countries in Africa, you can almost guarantee death. Because they just don't have the infrastructure, the doctors, and even the know-how. And even like, it's crazy. Some of the stuff which could be sorted with such minor drugs or such minor intervention doesn't happen. So naturally, she's very much invested in that, and she would love to impact the world in that way and try and help in that. And for me, the more I learn about that kind of that kind of sector of healthcare, I think that's something that genuinely we've got potential together to really make an impact for. It's not like going out there saying I'm going to treat someone with a problem with their head. Wouldn't know where to begin. But I think with that's something that we can genuinely make an impact. So that's definitely on the radar.
Yeah. No, I can see how I can see how that can actually help. Going down that route with
that'd be amazing. That'd be amazing. No, so is that like 5 years, 10 years?
Let's see. I haven't got a timeline. As I said, it really depends on when I can flip Revival and if I can flip Revival. I mean, blue sky scenario that happens in single digit number of years. Thereafter, if the money's good, it will be aggressively looking into seeing what we can set up. And maybe we don't set something up. Maybe there's some, there definitely is project set up. Maybe we go there, we latch onto one of them, we try and see, can we help with, money or with human capital, or I don't know how it would work, to be honest. I even applied to London School of Economics. I should defer the application to do a global health masters. I thought maybe that's going to see me, how best. If I did something like that, because right now I'm a bit shooting in the blind, especially when I'm shooting in the dark. Especially when I'm thinking about going to another country to do this. Here I kind of got a footing, all the rest of it. Maybe if I did a course, it's going to give me a natural starting point and a way into that industry. And I'm not there just wasting everyone's time and wasting everyone's money. You want it to be impactful, right? So in terms of what I want to do, that's where I want to get to at some point. In terms of the how, maybe I'll come back here in a few years when I've flipped it, and I'll be able to tell you exactly how I'm going about that.
No, that's amazing. Should we leave it there, or is there anything else?
I think that was a brilliant point to end on, actually. Yeah, for certain. I think I think where you're taking Revival, obviously it's great to meet you as well. Where you're taking it is just I hope that happens. Yeah, absolutely.
Touch wood.
Yeah.
100%.
Watch your space.
What would you say? No, definitely. No, I appreciate you coming down today, Daniel. It was really good meeting you. Definitely, I think we'll do another one some point in the future.
Yeah, we'll have to do a 5-year recap and see where you're at.
Nah, don't wait 5 years, man. I'm coming back next year. Let's do it. We'll do a 1-year checkpoint.
Yeah. No, definitely. All right, guys. Well, it's been really insightful today. I'm Max Stewart.
Flores.
Daniel Elahi.
And we'll see you soon.